Hey everybody, welcome back to My Wings of Refuge. I'm really excited today because I'm going to be making some peach preserves. It's a water bath canning method system that we're going to be doing, and we're going to have fun doing it. So here I have 6 pounds of washed peaches and 3 cups of white sugar. If you taste your peaches and they're super sweet, you could probably back off the sugar a little bit, maybe about ½ cup. And if they're really not sweet at all, you can add another ½ cup if you need to, but about 3 cups. And I have 8 tablespoons of fresh squeezed lemon juice. And so we're going to get started by peeling these, but I'm going to just toss in my lemon juice first, because as we cut these up and put them in here, it'll help keep them from turning on us, okay? So, and then I'm going to save my skins. There's lots of different ways that you can actually peel these peaches. I prefer just to do it like this, because I can save these skins and feed them right to my chickens. And they have a little tiny bit of something on them for them. But you can almost run them under hot water, and sometimes it'll come right off, or you can do it in several different ways. We're just going to pop that right in there. Okay, so we have all of our peaches cut up. Right now they're in kind of medium sized chunks, but as they cook, we'll kind of squash them a little bit, and we'll make them a little bit smaller. If you want to too, you can use, as it gets going, an immersion blender if you want it to be smoother. I'm going to go ahead and dump in my sugar. I'm going to give it a good stir. These peaches smell amazing. And all we're going to do is set our temperature on about medium, and we're going to let it do a light simmer for 1 to 2 hours. And we'll come back and we'll do the test on it and make sure it's ready. So we're going to stir it occasionally. As it gets to going and gets closer to done, we'll start stirring it a lot more often, because we don't want it to burn on the bottom or scorch. So now we wait. We let it simmer. We check on it every few minutes. Give it a stir. Okay, so I've moved my peaches over to this eye because I wanted to get my big water bath canner ready, so that my jars that are all inside here, and make sure they're all covered with water. I'm not sure if you can tell, they're definitely covered with water. And I'm going to put the lid on it and go ahead and get them boiling, and then after they boil, I'll bring them down to a simmer so that they'll be nice and hot and sterile when our peaches are ready. Checked on these jars a little earlier, but they're boiling and ready, so they'll be ready to go as soon as our peaches are done. So our peaches are getting really close. They're starting to get a lot thicker. I'm going to give them maybe about 15 more minutes, and then our little lids here have a little simmer. And I'm not going to touch that lid again, but these jars are boiling, so I've turned them down just a little bit so they'll be ready for us. It's almost go time. Okay, it's been going now for actually about an hour and a half, and it's starting to thicken, so I want to do our plate test and see where we are. Okay, we're going to strain out just a tiny bit. Put it on our plate. We're gonna let it sit there for just a second. Let me try another little spot too. There we go. We're going to see the first one has been there longer and it's not really running. I think we're ready to go ahead and put this in our jars. It is ready. Woo! So our preserves are ready, and here's what we're going to do. Turn it down to a lower heat. I'm going to put the lid on for a minute, and I'm going to take this lid off. Pull our jars up. There we go. They're pretty full of water. So I'm going to empty them of water, and I'm going to set them over here on this towel. You don't want to splash this on you. It's very, very hot. I'm just going to get the rest of these jars out, and we'll be ready to fill them up. We're going to fill these with a 1/4 of an inch headspace. I've cranked up the temperature for our boiling water, where the jars are going back in shortly, so they'll be ready to go. I always boil a few extra jars. I don't ever want to get to the point where I have a little extra jam and no jars ready. I'd rather have too many jars ready and not need them than to be the other way around. Okay, so now we're just going to take a paper towel and just make sure there's nothing on any of this ledge around the top here. I think we did a pretty good job. Now we're just going to put these rings right here on. Here, just finger tight. Should be on straight, like that. And this. And this. And this one right here. Now we're ready for the water bath. You want to make sure that the water well covers the top of your jars. Then put the lid on. Let it come to a nice firm boil for 10 minutes. Turn off the heat, and I'm going to take the lid off, and I'm just going to let these sit down and cool just a little bit. As undisturbed as possible. And as the water cools down just a little, I'm going to pull them up, get them out. So I'm going to give them just a minute. Already the bubbles are starting to settle down. It doesn't need but a couple minutes. I'm just going to pull these up very gently. There we go. Now I'm just going to pull each jar out. Right, the water off the top, and I'm going to sit them right up here. You might notice that these rings come a little bit loose after they've boiled in there. It's okay, just let everything sit and cool now. You will start hearing those little lids as they cool, pop, 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 pop. You'll know that they've sealed, but you'll want to go back later and we'll double check and make sure that they're all sealed. So I'm just going to let this water cool, going to let them cool. We'll come back and check on them in just a few minutes. So I've already heard them all pop, but I don't want to mess with them or touch them. I just want to leave them undisturbed for at least 24 hours. So I'm just going to leave them sitting right here. I'm not going to test or touch anything until tomorrow. So we'll come back tomorrow, we'll test those lids, and we'll be on our way because I've got several more batches to do and I'm adding flavors. So here we have our finished product. We have 6 of these little jars, and I just take each one and I just want to make sure that there's no popping here, that it's nice and sunk in the middle. And you can even unscrew these rings. When you unscrew the ring, you can pick it up literally by the little top rim and give it a little shake, which is nice and firm. And then you know that it's all done. So you just want to go around and check every one of them and make sure none of them you can feel an indentation on. They should be nice and solid. And then we'll go through and we'll take the rings off of every one, just like this, and hold it just by the rim and make sure it's nice and firm. Put the little rims on nice and tight, and they're ready to be stored. I'm excited again today because we're going to make some peach butter, some honeyed peach butter. And so that always makes me excited because those peaches just keep on giving all winter long. So today we're going to make basically a little smaller batch, but I have here 9 cups of peaches. I've left the skin on these peaches. I don't know if you can see that. Skin's on. And so all I did is wash and scrub them really well, and then I took the seed out of the middle and just loosely chunked them up. And so I'm going to dump these in my stock pot like that. And I'm going to add only 1/4 of a cup of water. Not much at all. I'm just going to heat these up for about 10 minutes on medium high, and then I'm going to blend them up so it'll be nice and smooth, and then we'll come back and we'll add in the sugar and the honey and go from there. And they're soft enough now. I want to use my immersion blender to go ahead and just break up any larger clumps before we go any further. Okay, so we have it all well blended here, and now we're going to add in our sugar. And then our honey. I make sure to use local, real honey. I have honeybees, but we got them first last year and we still don't have honey yet. So I do know where my honey comes from and I trust it, so that's great. So we're just going to give this a good stir. We want to make sure that the sugar is all nicely dissolved. We're turning our thermostat down to a medium. We want this to continue to simmer, not boil, but just a light simmer. You may have to adjust it a little bit lower, but we want it to simmer here for about an hour. Your liquid in here will get thicker, and so that's what we want it to do, is kind of to reduce a little bit, to thicken up to about the consistency of what we're wanting it to be for our butter. So it seems like the sugar is pretty well dissolved. We're going to leave it uncovered for about an hour, and we're going to check on it every few minutes to give it a good stir so nothing sticks on the bottom. We'll be back in a minute. So here you have it. Look at these beautiful jars of peach butter. We're just going to let them sit and cool completely. We'll check on them in the morning. We'll check the lids and make sure they've all sealed. And I can't wait to try it. Have a great day, y'all. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If so, please give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. You never know what's happening here on the Dykstra Homestead. Have a great week.